Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. Do you ever find yourself overeating or grabbing snacks to munch on when you're not even hungry? In this episode, I'm going to share with you 3 common triggers that can spiral you into overeating, and knowing these can help you take control and be proactive so they don't sabotage your goals. Stay tuned. Hey, my friend, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast, the power of possibility, passion, and purpose. I don't know, this topic, triggers. What are they? I mean, these are things that I have to say, they're things that I really never considered when I was starting on my let's get healthy, let's start eating right, let's start exercising journey. To tell you the truth, I just started doing the exercising stuff, and I kind of put the eating stuff away. I didn't really focus on it, is what I'm saying. I mainly just kind of ate middle of the road. It wasn't good for me, wasn't bad for me, and so I really didn't focus on that. But as I was really working hard to exercise, I was kind of frustrated that the results weren't coming as fast as possible, and I started thinking, gosh, does eating really matter? So as I'm going through and deciding to redefine what my healthy eating would look like and be like, I found myself finding little habits and little behaviors and little things that would happen. And I'd be like, why do I do that? And basically, I'm learning about triggers. And that's what I want to share with you. You may already know about them, but there's those things, those events that happen where something happened kind of cues you into doing some sort of behavior. You know, whether you know the cue is there or not. I think in this time I'm gonna help you identify at least 3 of them. And this is where we find ourselves all of a sudden with a handful of chips or a handful of cookies or ice cream or hitting the vending machine at work. That just trips me back to when I was a teacher and I would be working late at night before I had another event to go to. And I couldn't wait to get down to that vending machine, and I would buy 3 packets of those Little Debbie Swiss roll things, and I would eat them all. I have no idea why, and I'd feel terrible afterwards. But there was something in that little moment that I was like, oh, it's Thursday night, I'm working late. Oh, the Little Debbie machine's there. Okay, so let's talk about some triggers and things that you may be facing. You don't need to hear all of my stories. But one of them's eating at night. I know that's a big one for a lot of us. During the evening while watching TV, that can be a big trigger. Now, depending on what it is that you do, a lot of times for people, that is a typical activity. And this eating at night, just sitting down to watch TV, and then a few commercials happen to whatever happens that during the show or in between shows, and you're up and in the kitchen grabbing something, but you just eaten like a half hour ago and you're not really even hungry, but that's just the thing that you do. It's almost become a habit. So if, a lot of times you're thinking, gosh, I worked hard all day. It just feels nice to sit down, relax, have my own quiet time, enjoy my own show, have my evening, and as a reward, just to enjoy myself it's just part of my little evening ritual. I love it so much. And, but a lot of times it turns into this emotional eating, and it becomes a part of that evening ritual. It's where it isn't, hey, I'm just sitting down and just enjoying a couple little potato chips because I really enjoy this as my special moment. It's the whole bag. There's things that happen that cause, keep you overeating, or you're so into the show that you ate so many things mindlessly that you didn't realize you ate them, and you're looking for something more. And so just identifying that and realizing that's part of the ritual that you've built, now that gives you the power to change it. And of course, when you go to make a change, your body's going to be resistant, your brain's going to be resistant. Your body's going to go, hey, we worked so hard on this ritual. Come on. Just a little bit more. Let's go back to that. It's become second nature. Why do you want to change? But the thing is, for a lot of us, we're feeling guilty. We feel horrible that when we wake up in the morning, and why did we Why did I binge eat on those chips? Or why did I, eat that whole tub of ice cream when I was just going to make a little tiny taster dish? Okay. So perhaps try this mantra. This is the one I learned from Alana Molstein in one of her programs. Use an empowering motto: dinner and done. If you find yourself after dinner wanting something to munch on just because you feel exhausted through the day and you need some of that emotional comfort food, then that may be the mantra you need, because it puts you more in control. Just consider the kitchen's closed for the night. You can't go in there. It's closed. There's nothing there. Close the doors. Leave it behind. Now you might be thinking, I deserve this. I want to treat myself. This is me time. Breaking free of the triggers for that late night eating that can lead to overeating things, it can be really challenging, but it's really, really important. So it's important to overcome and breaking free of those triggers so you can reach the goals that you're wanting to do. So dinner and done. Create a simple policy for yourself. Dinner and done. The kitchen is closed. And then do something to empower yourself to go to bed a little bit earlier so you can get yourself 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Create a little wind down ritual instead. Maybe it's just having a little bit of herbal tea and an uplifting book or magazine, or perhaps a meditation. Now I know it's going to take a bit to get that ritual done, but you can create a contract with yourself to do something for a period of time. And just what I used to do, I used to take little 30-day chunks. And I would say, if I do this behavior for the next 30 days, will it make a difference? My hunch is if you break away from late night eating is your trigger, and you replace it with dinner and done, kitchen is closed, and I've got this little other ritual I'm starting. It's my nighttime wind down ritual, which has an uplifting good mindset book and an herbal tea. And that's my new ritual. And you do that for the next 30 days, I guarantee there's going to be a shift there. But if it doesn't, well, then it's just 30 days, right? So that's one. Bonus points. And here's some extra credit for that one. If you start putting yourself first, I talked about getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So if you start putting yourself first at the beginning of the day, just getting up maybe just a little sliver, like even 10 minutes earlier, and just starting the day with some gratitude, some sort of body movement, maybe some stretches or whatever, some visualization. Boy, that was good to try and say. Visualization and affirmations, that will power up your day. So if you're really striving to put yourself first and you're saying, this is me time, restructure that me time to make it empowering and not something filled with regret. Second one to talk about here is stress eating and overeating. That's a big one. It's so common. I'm sure you do it. I know I do it. I'm guessing most people don't consider themselves an emotional eater, but we actually all are. We all feel and have a lot of emotions, and food provides comfort, whether we're happy, mad, stressed, lonely, angry. I think about our family gatherings. Everything's always centered around where we're going to eat and what we're going to do with the eating. Emotional eating, that's where the food, it helps us with the feelings that we're having. And it can be a big cause that leads into overeating and weight gain. So if you're finding those triggers, happen often, you most likely want to check in with yourself before you eat and identify how you're feeling. Now, I know this will take some practice and discipline, but you got to be aware of your patterns. When do you find yourself overeating? Stressed, bored, comfort, sad, worried? And when I say those, because I know food provides comfort and those type of things, you don't have to define yourself by that. You don't have to say, oh, when I'm stressed, I always overeat. That's something you're telling your brain to do, and of course your body's going to follow. Your subconscious knows no different, whether you're telling it a true story or a false story. You don't have to tell yourself that story. It's just mainly identifying what your behaviors have been, and then to create a better strategy when those things happen. And I'm currently reading a book by Alana Molstein. This podcast is driven by her stuff. Her book's called "You Can Drop It," and she recommends when you're feeling stressed, worried, overwhelmed, you find yourself overeating, to get productive, not destructive. I always love her catchphrases. But instead of stress eating, she recommended writing a blog post, reading a book, watching a funny video, going for a walk with your dog, going to take a shower or a bath, or just doing something creative. That way, you're occupying your mind in a totally different way. Your actions, your body is moving, and your mindset's different, and food's removed from the equation. Okay? Do something that reduces the stress. It's simple and it's effective. Okay? The key is to taking control to just create better strategies. Next one that I know a lot of people deal with is snacking at work. I don't know if you find yourself snacking or grazing at work, or perhaps you find yourself heading to the break room often to see who brought in donuts, who brought in a treat today, or scanning the vending machine because, the little Debbies are calling at you. Or it's just any of those things. You got to create a new mindset. Make something simple like, I'm only going to eat homemade food that I brought in myself, and it's truly a treat or a snack. It's only my own stuff, or maybe it's stuff I bought that I'm going to have on hand, and it's healthy stuff. Okay, you want to empower yourself. So for me, in my desk, I started bringing my own things, and I think I brought in like little mini bags of raw almonds and some dried fruit, or I used to keep a little bullet blender in my office, and I would make a little smoothie. Now, I know that you want to empower yourself as you're going through these things by not skipping meals, because when you're inconsistent with your meal pattern, that triggers overeating. You want to make sure you're eating well-balanced diet throughout the day. Keep all your macronutrients sort of thing together at each meal, because that keeps you fuller and keeps your energy level good. And you want to avoid a restrictive diet if possible. So I know sometimes people are on them for certain reasons, but what ends up happening sometimes with those restrictive diets is people end up missing essential nutrients, and then they're craving it. For instance, there was a time when I was going through, and I was really limiting the amount of carbs that I was having. Oh my gosh, and I was trying to do these extreme workouts. That just was not clicking. My body needed the energy, and it was not finding that at all. When I started having the carbs, I had workouts that were off the charts. I still burned through them, but I just had this mindset that carbs were bad. I don't know if you've ever gone through that sort of thing, or remember when carbs were supposed to be a bad thing. Oh my gosh. So anyway, we all go through our experiences, right? But my friend Judy, she's got a great little mindset mantra that she says when you're starting to crave something, and she uses the mantra of delay, not deprive. So if you want chips, you want cookies, you want that special treat, go ahead and have them. But be mindful of your eating habits. Make it a choice to have them. And she said, if you really want them, just kind of delay it and say, okay, I'll have that a little later this afternoon, or maybe I'll have that as my thing tomorrow. When you delay it, you've given your permission to still have it, but you've delayed it, and sometimes you just like, oh, that craving passed. I'm really not craving that like I thought I was. A lot of times what I do when I find that I'm having these craving sort of things, I test it out to say, okay, well, let's see if you could pass the water test. And I'll go chug a big glass of water and just delay it for about 10, 15 minutes to see, am I still craving that? Most of the time, it was just my mind was messing with me. And I was all hungry, and now I hydrated myself. So here's a few other tips. I just talked about water, but water first is a great mantra to have before you go to eat anything, even a snack. Have like a 16-ounce glass of water before a meal. The water is going to make you feel fuller. Another one that Alana taught me was veggies most. I love this one. Make sure you're eating a well-balanced meal, which consists of mostly veggies, because the fiber is really going to help you out. Add in a lean protein and some fiber-filled carbs, and you've got yourself to feeling good, and the cravings aren't happening as much, especially if you've changed those triggers that I'm happening. Dinner and done. Kitchen is closed. I love that one. And like I said, if you could store unsalted nuts and dried fruit in your desk drawer to have as a healthy snack that's convenient, or even do the bullet blender or some sort of little small portable blender if you can do that. I don't know if you might have little cubbies that you're working right next to each other. They might not appreciate that when they're on a phone call, but for me that worked perfectly. So I ask you, what are some other triggers that you have that we can talk about on this podcast and help people through? What you can do is go over to your email and email the subject triggers to perrytinsley@gmail.com and let me know so we can solve those together. And if you want some more simple strategies on how to manage stress, go and grab my free Success Habits Master List. It's packed with routines, rituals, tips to move you from feeling chaotic, overwhelmed, and stressed out to feeling grateful, healthy, happy, focused, fulfilled. It's absolutely free. You can download that at morningsuccesshabits.com. That's all I have for this week. I thank you so much for coming in and subscribing. And please, if you can get out there and just share it with somebody that you know could benefit, that would absolutely rock, my friend. You absolutely are amazing. Thank you so much. And if you can get over your podcast app and leave an honest rating or review, man, that would be great. That's all I have for this week. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.